I was not projecting. Yes, actresses project. Well, welcome to Sun Lakes Unity Church. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Reverend Kate Turner, and I thank Betty, right, for bringing the flowers, but Betty's not here. Where is she?
She's not here.
She's not feeling well.
She brought the flowers.
Well, that was nice of her, and they're very springtimey, very pretty. And I've seen some people that I don't recognize, but then I was gone for about 3 weeks, so 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm just going to ask you, because I don't know who you are, to introduce yourself. I've met Jill. We talked briefly. This is her third time now. Yay. So I told her she wasn't really a newcomer anymore, but we bless her anyway. But I do not recognize the two of you. Yes.
I'm Judy Adams.
Judy, okay. And you've been coming how long?
3 or 4 weeks now.
Okay.
Maybe 4, I don't know. Somewhere between 4 to 6.
An even number, I like that about you. And the lady behind you? I know you've come several times, both of you. Virginia. And
I am Odie, and I just moved here from San Diego, and for many years I've been a member of Center for Spiritual Living. But when I looked up where the closest one was, I thought, it's not close to very nice. And when I found you, I could practically walk here. I said, thank you, God.
Yes, welcome. Well, we're so glad to have you. You're going to find you love it here. We're
I
family.
already do.
Good. Well, we're going to give you welcomes, all of you. Let's do it together. We love you, we bless you, and we welcome you. Well, it is wonderful to have all of you here. Hi, girls, come on in. Have a seat. Here we go. I told you we were starting a little early.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I finally got my time and then start early.
There must have been a tectonic shift or something.
I know.
We're on time. My gosh.
Not very nice.
Start early. I think we're now going to have something lovely. This is a gong wash. Reverend Jeanne is going to play the gong. Is that what we say? And she requests that you allow the sounds of the gongs to wash over you, to prepare you, to heal you, and to bless you. our opening song. We are thrilled to have our good friend come back and join us, Barb. And now we've also added Amy. And we're going to have the three of them. The trio here is going to sing Relax, Let Go, Release, and Surrender.
I like that. I love it. Yeah. And we invite you to sing along. And dance if you'd like. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. All is well, all is well, all is well. I am well, I am well, I am well. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. All is well, all is well, all is well. I am well, I am well, I am well. And every day I affirm and pray how I'm blessed with everything I have. I release my fear, and it's all so clear. I am held, I am loved, I am safe. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. All is well, all is well, all is well. I am well, I am well, I am well. And now I see what my life can be when I trust in the process and have faith. And now I know when I just let go, I have all I ever need. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. All is well, all is well. I am well, all is well. I am well. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. All is well, all is well, all is well. I am well, I am well. One more time. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. I relax, let go, release and surrender. All is well, all is well, all is well, all is well. I am well, I am well, I am well. All is well, all is well, all is well, all is well. I am well.
Well, that was a wonderful way to start out. And we're going to now have our opening prayer from Reverend Tony Corrigan.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
When you woke up this morning and realized it was Sunday, was there a little spark of joy that just got brighter and brighter inside your heart? Because we know we can come together on this Sunday morning and bless one another bless ourselves and bless our world. So let's just take a deep breath. Go into that holy place within. A place where we know that we are one. Where we know that that living, loving presence of God is the only presence working in and through our lives and in and through our church. And so we lift up our church, Unity of Sun Lakes. We are so grateful. We give thanks for the people that come early to create a beautiful environment for our service. We give thanks for our Reverend Jeanne. We give thanks for our musicians, Barbara and Amy and Jeanne. We give thanks for our IT person. We give thanks for our photographer, Julia. How many, many people come together to make this beautiful service. And so we just send love and light to each of those people now. Knowing that as they give so generously, they are blessed in return. We know that each one of us is here by divine appointment. There's a reason that each of us is here. There's a special message, an idea, an inspiration, perhaps through the music, through the message, through the prayers. And so we come with open hearts, ready to receive the abundant blessings that are here for us this morning. And we say thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is.
Thank you, Tony. And now Reverend Maria Blanding is going to give us our daily word, and that will then be followed by our song that will lead us into meditation. The Yayas will do In the Silence, and immediately after that we will have sound bath with bowls. So please remember that we are silent after our meditation song. Thank you.
It's funny, our this opening song today kind of ties in with the daily word today about letting go and becoming new. It's called freedom. Taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. Each life has its share of ups and downs. Like most people, I have felt blessed by my happy experiences, and I have been laid low by my more difficult ones. I have used the spiritual tools of forgiveness and gratitude to learn from and move beyond my more painful experiences. This kind of spiritual housekeeping is my key to lasting freedom. By releasing blame and regret over and over again if necessary, I am ensuring that I will not be bound by the past and limited by an outworn image of myself. Life is dynamic, and so am I. My growth is dependent upon my forward movement, and I commit to embracing the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind. With gratitude, I bless the person I was. With faith, I reach unencumbered for the person I am becoming. And from Galatians 5:13, for you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters.
In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, I find my upper room, a holy supper room. God is there. All my good is within. In my heart, I'm listening. In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. God is there. Peace is there. I am there.
Crystal holes. This is the crown chakra. This is the third eye chakra. This is the throat chakra. And this is the sacral chakra. So just relax and let this music sound flow into your body wherever you need it.
kind of ties in with the daily work too. I wrote it as an affirmation for myself to get over my pity party. It's called The Hand I Deal Myself.
the privilege of singing with that woman for how many years now? Over 20. So our theme for this month of May is building a life. Is my mic on? Can you hear me?
No?
Hello, hello.
Yes.
The book that we're using this month is entitled The Architecture of All Abundance, Creating a Successful Life in the Material World. And this book is so much more than a prosperity book. It is a book that lays out an architecture, a building plan for living, which is dedicated to the understanding of the divine excellence within each of us, that when lived, uplifts humanity and moves us beyond our current limitations and difficulties and into the revolution of the soul and its certain transformation of our individual lives, thereby transforming the planet and our species. So we're up to big stuff. But I know this group can handle it. So today we are going to take a look at the architecture of health. At a nursing home in Miami, a group of seniors were sitting around talking about all of their ailments. My arms have gotten so weak I can hardly lift this coffee cup, said one of them. Yes, I know, said another. My cataracts are so bad I can't even see the coffee cup. I couldn't even punch out the Chad at election time. My hands are so frail, volunteered a third. I can't turn my head because of the arthritis in my neck, said a fourth, to which several nodded weakly in agreement. My blood pressure pills make me so dizzy, exclaimed another. I guess that's the price we pay for getting up in years, winced an old man as he slowly shook his head. The others nodded. Well, we need to remember to count our blessings, said one woman. Actually, very cheerfully, she said, and just be grateful that we can all still drive. I laughed, but that story isn't too far from last weekend. I had a band rehearsal with a band that I've been singing with for over about 27 years we're going on now. And that's what our rehearsals are like. The first hour, before we used to jump in to rehearse, now it's we all talk about, well, it's true. Sometimes that happens. But I know it doesn't happen in this group. You know, in this group, we all have we have the mentality to not do it. And it's beautiful. It's kind of hard when you get in the other groups. You know, the ones in the world. Physical healing was a cornerstone in the birth of the New Thought movement in the mid-late 1800s. Often believed to be a father of New Thought, Phineas Quimby had a spiritual awakening as a result of a buggy ride he took when he was near death with consumption, TB. A friend suggested that he might feel better if he got outside in the fresh air. So despite his very weakened condition, Quimby hooked up the horse to the buggy and took a ride. In the course of the ride, the horse got spooked and he began to gallop, totally out of control. Quimby struggled with the reins to get the horse and buggy stabilized, and after some effort, he was successful. When he finally stopped the buggy and took a couple of breaths, he realized that he felt alive. He felt invigorated. More vital than he had ever felt. In fact, in years, more vital. This led him to a deep and profound study of the relationship between our mental state and our physical state. And because of this work, he was influential in beginning the New Thought movement. And, by the way, he came back from the brink of death and went on to live in health for many years. Regarding our health, we have two cornerstone beliefs. The first says, there is nothing to heal, only our innate perfection to reveal. Exactly the belief espoused in the chapter of this month's inspirational book entitled The Architecture of Health. Nedra Carroll, the author, writes, "Slowly and surely I have achieved wellness and vitality by building from the original blueprint of health that is embedded in my soul." Our second cornerstone belief is our thinking profoundly affects our physical state of being. This is no longer just a religious or spiritual belief. In fact, through his scientific research and delving into the way our physical universe operates, renowned American physicist David Bohm believes that there is a deeper and non-local level of existence from which our entire universe springs. He sees this deeper level of existence comprised entirely of waveforms of different kinds, as what he refers to as the implicate order, or the originator and cohesive force of form. We played with that waveform this morning. I don't know if you felt it with the sound waveforms going through your body. Every action starts from an intention in the implicate order, or another way of saying, in the great unformed potential. The imagination already has the intention and the germs of all the movements needed to carry it out. And it affects the body. So creation begins in the subtlest levels of the implicate order. And then it goes through the more subtle levels until it manifests in the outer, as we know it as matter. In other words, he is saying that manifestation in the physical levels occurs by your intention, imagination, and thought, moving through the subtle levels of the implicate order until it manifests in matter, such as the body. This shows in a very real way how our thoughts create our reality. Where have we heard that before? More and more doctors and scientists are studying the ability of thought to bring about healing. One psychologist, Jeanne, while head of research and rehabilitation science at the University of Texas Health Science Center, helped validate this and developed imagery healing techniques widely used in medicine and with athletes. Using a group of college students, Adderberg taught them to imagine a white cell known as neutrophil. She trained a second group of students to visualize another type of white cell, the T cell. Each group showed significant increase in the number of white cells that they imagined but no increase in the white cells they did not imagine. Dr. O. Carl Simonton uses such techniques with his patients. While a radiation oncologist and medical director of the Cancer Counseling and Research Center in Dallas, he suggested to a patient that he could influence his own disease. The patient was a 61-year-old man with throat cancer, so advanced that he was extremely weak and could barely swallow or even breathe. He had only a 5% chance of surviving. Simonton taught the man very specific visualization therapy. The results were so dramatic and the recovery so remarkable that Simonton and his colleagues taught their mental imaging technique to 159 cancer patients considered incurable. 4 years later, 14 of those terminal patients were disease-free. 17 had stabilized. In another 12, the cancer was regressing. Altogether, an astonishing 63 of these patients were still alive. The body is amazingly responsive to our thoughts. Carol writes, a thought laid down repetitively in the pliable wave field of the body creates a body memory or habit pattern. Unless this pattern is interrupted at the thought level, it will ultimately manifest in the physical as an interruption of the natural health of the body. Form follows thought. The body is taking information and direction from our thoughts continually. The prime tone of the thoughts directly affects physical health. That is how thoughts filled with fear and worry, self-hatred, stress, anger, frustration, etc., rob us of our health, even creating very specific ailments in our body. Here's a little good news, bad news. If there is such a thing as bad news, because we know that all news is for us, we can change our thoughts much faster than our bodies change, since they are far denser in its composition than thought. In other words, it can take some time in our world of time and space for the body to catch up. The good news is that it allows us to recognize and interrupt the thoughts that may create difficulty down the road. The bad news is that it also accounts for why, when we have understood and corrected an unhealthy pattern, the physical change might not immediately appear. The body just needs to catch up. And that is why repetition of visualization and relaxation is necessary. What often happens with us is that we become discouraged and we give up quickly. If a healing takes too long, we abandon our practice and settle back into our old ways, which, remember, created the situation in the first place. This is like committing to take a car trip from California to New York, but upon becoming lost in Las Vegas, we say, it's no use. It'll just turn around and go home. Rerouting is all that is required to put us back on track, no matter how many times we lose our way, while changing an unhealthy pattern. The constant rerouting is what unavoidably interrupts the undesirable wave pattern being laid in our body. By communicating consciously and lovingly with our body, there is really no limit to its capacity to respond. It can bring about our renewal to full health, heighten our vitality, and even slow aging. In Health is Our Birthright, a book of case studies from many years of practice, Dr. Ellen Jensen addressed the need to purify our mental processes. The body is a magnificent creation of God. It comes equipped with an innate intelligence and powerful energy to heal itself when given the opportunity. Keeping the mind free of debilitating thoughts is necessary to access this energy and intelligence. Feelings such as guilt, worry, fear, or anger can drain us of that vital energy that is so essential for a high quality of health and life. It can be difficult, no doubt, to interrupt these obsessive thoughts. When Lenedra Carroll was trying to make strides in her ability to discipline her mind, she found the habit so deeply ingrained that it seemed hopeless. How many of you have been there? I've been there. It was at the end of for her, it was at the end of a relationship. Her mind replayed over and over painful scenes with her boyfriend and fears about the future. It was so compelling that she couldn't remember anything else to think about when she asked herself to. To remedy this, she made flashcards for herself. And on them, she wrote several thoughts that would be beneficial for her to concentrate on. They included dreams that were neglected in her thoughts, her new business, a more satisfactory living condition, her love of music. She referred to them again and again. Her life began to change in positive ways as she patiently but insistently allowed these flashcards to remind her of her dreams and needs of the present. Have any of you ever done something like that? Uh-oh. Hello? Oh. I have vision boards I love to do, and I had a vision board. Amy and I made vision boards the last time she was here, and I had tucked it away after a while, and we pulled it out of the closet this weekend, and I looked at it, and every single thing came true. Every single one of the things that was on that vision board that I wanted, and I didn't see how it was going to happen, every single one of them happened. I love it. And also, if you look at my desk, my house is fairly picked up. But if you look at my office desk, it is post-it noted everywhere with positive affirmations. And now we come to a burning question that many of us spiritual students ask ourselves when a health issue arises. What do you think that is? Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? Midway through Jewel's spirit tour, Lenedra and Jewel were both worn out, badly in need of rest and recuperation. She heard about a beautiful lodge in northern New Zealand and booked a few days for their respite. She looked so forward to the downtime. She showered quickly at the hotel, mentally preparing for the trip. The phone rang as she stepped from the shower, and she dashed to answer it. The next thing she remembered was hearing a frighteningly loud, guttural cry that seemed to be some distance away. Someone help her, she thought to herself. She is hurt. But she didn't realize that that sound was coming from her, and she had fallen on the wet tile floor, bashing her right temple against the doorknob. The fall left her with quite noticeable difficulties. In addition to a severe concussion and later a whiplash, she suffered frequent episodes of ringing in her ears, followed by blackouts. This was Jewel's mom, our author of the month. There was damage to a blood vessel above her right ear, which affected her balance. Suffering chronic spasms in her right shoulder and arm, she lost 80% of their range of motion. She wrote, "We often wonder what we did wrong when such things occur in our lives. Feeling guilty, thinking we did not get it right. We ask why we fell, why we got cancer, why caught a cold, why do I have a toothache?" The question, why, can have the nagging inference that we did something wrong. As we become more conscious of the connection between our emotions, our living habits, our bodies, we may even add derogatory judgment to the process. There's a chance that we've gone from making no connection, taking no responsibility, to blaming ourselves. And how many can relate to that? Yeah. We feel that if we were somehow more conscious or more spiritual, then this bad thing would not have happened. We take the internal blame for it. We get into self-judgment and even self-loathing. And this does not serve or support us. And in fact, it gets in the way of the clarity and the wisdom that are available to us. Balanced and conscious assessment of an experience is helpful. It is important to connect our thoughts and our feelings with our actions and our body. It is valuable to ask questions. However, being unduly critical or shaming ourselves keeps us locked in the condition, not in the solution. So when a health challenge comes our way, what if instead of asking, what did I do wrong, ask, how can I bring myself back to what I know to be true? That I am whole, I am safe, I am a perfect manifestation of the divine. How do I get to that understanding again? So here's how it went for our heroine. Nedra naturally wondered about her injury. When she asked her body, she understood that it was a simple matter of being out of balance. She had just been through a long and intense work period. She was tired and hard-pressed to find time for rest and recreation. She began to seek knowledge for her recovery. Through the near 3 years of the healing process, her focus was not on the difficulties. She did not overlook or deny her injury, her pain, or her frustration. She experienced and moved through them when she felt them. But her focus was on what could be done to recover. The injuries were serious, but she knew her body could regenerate. The incident served as an impetus for her to commit a more active life. Commit to a more active life. strengthening her body for the extensive travel and activity she participates in. She also restructured her schedule to allow for more rest and personal creativity. 2.5 years later, due to these efforts, she was actually in far better health than she was before the fall. So remember our two cornerstone beliefs are: there is nothing to heal, only our innate perfection to reveal. And our thinking profoundly affects our physical state of being. Listen to these words of beauty and of power. I have not come to health by wishing for it, by laying myself in the hands of others, or by ignoring the problems that were affecting it. I tried all of these approaches, of course, without success. I count my health today from the moments when ill, dying, or suffering physically, that I realized I had the wisdom within me for my healing. I count my health today from the times I looked kindly but unflinchingly at myself and began to change the thoughts and the habits that did not serve me. I count my health from the blueprint that already exists in my soul. Let's say our affirmation together. Together. I am whole, I am safe, I am a perfect manifestation of the divine. And now let's offer each other a sign of peace. And now it is time for our offering, where we have a basket over here with the name tags where we can leave our offering. We don't pass the basket anymore. But some of us also donate online, and so we take that time where we put our energy into this loving, beautiful community where our energy is multiplied tenfold. And let's say our offering blessing together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. I am so blessed. Thank you, God. And now let's sing together Karen Drucker's song, I Am So Blessed.
I am so grateful for all that I gain.
that we say together. We give thanks for these many blessings of today, and know they are but a symbol of the inexhaustible substance of the universe. I give thanks that 10 times this much is now on its way to me, and quickly manifests in perfect ways. And now it's time for our announcements. Reverend Julia Norton is our prayer partner today, and she'll meet you in the back if you would like personal prayer. Betty's not here for our Explorers report, but Julia has an announcement to share.
I'm not as enthusiastic as Betty is about Schnipp's Farm. But anyways, there is a sign-up sheet back there. It's on May 27th. It's a Friday. And I believe that they may go to the Olive Mill after that. So if you are interested in going, please put your name and your email, especially for Betty, so she can contact you. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any? Yes, Barb.
I just wanted to say today's my last day for 4 months.
Oh,
So, and I haven't been here for a number of weeks, but I'll really miss everybody. I hope are you all meeting this summer?
Not in person. We're not meeting in person. We'll be doing YouTube lessons every week from July and August. We're meeting in June in person here,
Okay,
and then we come back in September.
Okay, so everybody stay healthy and well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll be in our prayers.
California.
and then our board meeting is next week after the service, and if anyone has any recommendations of where we could, where you would like our tithes to go from the church, please let us know before next Sunday. Also, we have sign-up sheets in the back for volunteering for the month of June, and even the end of this month, no one has signed up for certain things, so if you want to do it, please do it. Sign up. Our musician for next week is Dennis Hubert. And of course, I think everybody knows, well, maybe not, we have some new people. And we do have a Reiki meeting every week on Tuesdays at 9:30. If you're interested in joining the Reiki meetings, ask and we'll plug you in. And then we have a prayer meeting every Wednesday at 10 a.m. that Reverend Julia sets up on Zoom. So yes, I want to say thank you to Mark, as always, showing up early. Rob, thank you. Betty, of course, would thank you online if you're watching. Betty, we love the flowers. They're absolutely beautiful. Julia, thanks for bringing the bowls, and Lois's presence is here through those beautiful bowls, so thank you, Lois. And I think that is it. So grateful that you're all here.
Oh, I want to thank you for the bowls.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's my most favorite thing I heard.
Good. Great. Glad it was appreciated. And Diane.
I want to thank you for the beautiful music today.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Well, on that note, let's all stand, and we're going to do a couple of songs to close with. Hopefully you all know them. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. And then also, the second time around, we say every little cell in my body is healthy. Okay? Here we go. Places, everyone. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is healthy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is healthy and well. And the last song is is This Little Light of Mine.
Oh.
No?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Okay.
Shine it over the Ukraine, yes! I'm gonna let it shine, I'm gonna let it shine. Shine it over the Ukraine, yes! I'm gonna let it shine. Shine it over the Ukraine, yes! I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it, this big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. One more time. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yes. A wonderful week. God bless you all.